You thought I forgot about album reviews, didn't you? Well, not necessarily. I'm just trimming them down as much as I can, and only reviewing the stuff that I really want to review. And the first album review of 2025 that I decided to do is by the one and only Lady Gaga with her new album, Mayhem. Her past couple of albums I haven't been a huge fan of, and I kind of just swept her under the rug for a little while, but then the news of her playing Harley Quinn in the Joker sequel came out, and then she released an album that kind of played as a soundtrack for that movie that was actually pretty good, and then I had heard that she was going to be releasing music of her own material after the whole Joker and the soundtrack for it came out, and here we are, May 7th of 2025, with Mayhem, her new album, and her first in a while that really kept me intrigued from start to finish. Because we're kind of getting a classic Gaga sound, almost like something she did off of her first two albums, while also kind of mixing in some of the new sound that she's been able to do. Is toward the end of the album, you definitely get a lot more softer leaning tracks. There was a couple of songs on here that I didn't really like all that much. Vanish Into You and The Beast, they weren't necessarily terrible, just compared to the rest of the album, it didn't really hit as much. And then when we get into the okay tracks, we have Killa and How Bad Do You Want Me, and Killa features, I think you would say it, Gesaffelstein. I'm sorry if I butchered that, but that's one of the few features on this album, and again, those songs are decent, but not to a point where I would say they were my favorites. And then when we talk about my favorites, well, we gotta talk about the rest of the album. Disease and Abracadabra kick it off, a great 1-2 punch. I heard those two songs before the album came out. They were excellent, and those were the singles that really got me excited for this thing. Then we have songs like Garden of Eden, Perfect Celebrity, Zombie Boy, that kind of, again, take you back to that classic Gaga sound. Love Drug, Don't Call Tonight, Shadow of a Man, and Blade of Grass are also great songs, and this thing actually finishes off with the first single that was released way back in, I think it was August of 2024, that being Die With a Smile, which features Bruno Mars, which Bruno Mars at that point in time, since he had done the whole Silk Sonic thing, it made sense because this is more of a soft rock endeavor than it is a pop song, and it's already got over 1 billion streams, so this song is huge and everybody knows what it is, and it was a good start to the new era that would become Mayhem. Overall, sonically, I feel like this is her best sounding album in a while, as her last record kind of had some good moments, but the production wasn't great, and with Joanne, I think just the jumping around of genres was kind of confusing. Not to say that she couldn't experiment, it just was a bit confusing in itself, and the fact that she's kind of brought back that weird aesthetic that she had early on and is kind of maturing that, it makes it a lot more interesting of a listen, and you know, you still kind of get the sass from her every so often as well, and it was just overall a good listen, giving you her best album in probably over a decade at this point, as Art Pop was definitely a disappointment, but still the last album of hers I could say where I was like, this thing is going to be solid. And here we are in 2025 with Lady Gaga showing that she still has it, unlike others like, say, a Katy Perry, who released an album last year in hopes of making a comeback jump somewhere, and well, she just didn't do it. Now, Lady Gaga has also helped herself because she does movies and films and has starred in some, you know, big films over the years as well, where she had took part in the soundtrack, so she's been sticking around even though she's taken longer in between studio albums, but the quality's still good, and she shows that, God, 17 years since her debut album released, she can still pull up and make some pretty good pop songs. So overall, the rating for this album, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. It is a good start to 2025 for album reviews, and I mean, I hope it can stay that way, because I don't like listening to bad stuff, and when you don't know an album's going to be bad, that's when it is really, really bad. But this album, it's nice, and I would recommend it to a lot of people, and I would really like to hear your thoughts in the comments if you've heard this album already. You know, how do you think about it? What are some songs that maybe you didn't like and songs that you liked? Because even though we might agree on some of that, I know there's probably going to be some songs that I dislike that you actually like, and vice versa. So with that being said, that's it for me. Stay safe out there, and I will catch you all in the next one.